Okay, I'm an American living in London since 1980. I'm the mother of 2 grown-up daughters. I used to be a teacher of children with behavior or mental health problems, and my life turned upside down when I lost my hearing suddenly. Some of you may know about sudden hearing loss, which is different from the one that most people think about, which is as you get older, you might lose some of your hearing. But when you lose it suddenly, you know you've lost it, and it changes your life. I was a victim of my hearing loss until I started doing co-productions, started being involved as a patient advocate, not just for hearing loss, but for other conditions. And so my life has been vastly improved, maybe even because of my hearing loss, because of what I do, which I'll tell you about in a bit.
Thanks, Jean. So we don't really have time, unfortunately, for going around the room and introducing ourselves to each other, which we would normally love to do, but please use the chat to say hello and to share thoughts or questions as we go along. And we will be doing a bit of a breakout later, so you will be able to meet some of the people in the room. So I'm just going to show briefly on screen what we just did, which is a bit of an exercise using word cloud. So what this does is show the words that more people picked out are larger. So the key things coming through are collaboration, together, empowerment, and we as well. When we ask you what do you think the term co-production means, those are the things that are jumping out for you as a group. So interesting, and I guess hold those in mind whilst we go through this session, and we'll see where we get to by the end. So what I thought I might just do now is share a little bit about Co-Production Collective and the values that we hold close and that we try to live and breathe. For us at Co-Production Collective, we don't actually have a definition really of co-production. We actually talk about an approach to co-production that we have. And that approach is, sorry, there's somebody who's just joining, I'll just let them in. But that approach is working together in equal partnership for equal benefit. And that for us is how we approach co-production. But that's all underpinned by our values as well. There's lots of people here. Sorry, there we go. So I'm going to put on screen our values, and those are, as you will see, human, transparent, inclusive, and challenging. And as I said, we try to hold those close in everything that we do. I hope you can see that. Please shout me if not. And what I'll do is I'm just going to talk through these values a little bit and how, in a practical sense, we put these into action. And some of those things hopefully will help you in work that you're doing. So what I'll do is I'll put that on full screen or not. Let's try. Technology is really not my friend today. So here we go. This is the human, being human value. And by this, we mean we try to always value diversity of knowledge and experience and perspective in everything that we do. So Co-Production Collective was started in 2017, and we wanted to co-produce a centre or an entity to support co-production. And we were funded initially by Wellcome Trust, and that money was to help us to get this set up. And in setting it up, we wanted to co-produce it from scratch. And so this being human value really emerged as so important in everything that we were doing, you know, in building mutually beneficial relationships based on honesty and trust. That being human and being able to communicate with each other was so important. And the language that we try to always use is without jargon. We try not to set people up as experts. So we don't talk about professionals in this or that, or an expert in this or that. Everybody comes to the session as themselves, as Nicola, or as Jean, or as John. And they come usually without the job title. So not everybody has a job title. So we try not to use those, because for somebody who doesn't, that actually can be quite intimidating and demoralizing as well. And what we also learned along the way is that it's actually okay to be pragmatic as well when it comes to co-production. We've developed trust and relationships as a group. And so the core team who are employed to move this work forwards take the decisions that we make in a co-production situation and go away and put those decisions into action and move things forwards. What they don't do is take those decisions, go away and make a different decision and just do what they want. That would affect the trust, and that would not be us living and breathing the co-production values and the decisions that we made as a group. So in terms of the being inclusive value, for us, this is about removing barriers to participation and recognizing people's strengths and supporting their development. And so we early on established a set of group principles to live by. We got together and we spent some time generating ideas around what we thought this entity should become. And as part of that set of principles to live by are really important, and they are what have developed into these core values. What we learned along the way, I guess, is that we need to provide lots of different ways of engaging, because digital exclusion, as I think people are really starting to realize, is very real. And in order to be digitally inclusive, there needs to be other ways to engage in doing co-production or involvement work. And so what we do is a mixture. We have some online video calls like this. We use phone calls, whether that's a one-to-one situation or something more group-like. And we also do a lot of posting out of materials to people via Royal Mail or via email, so that people can spend time looking at things in their own time, can provide thoughts and comments, and then we can bring them together collectively. Being transparent is, come on, computer. There we go. Being transparent is the next of the values, and this for us is about addressing the power imbalances and hierarchies. And we always talk about being one team. So we're one team, and no one person's experience is more or less important than another's. So if somebody comes with research experience, that's as equally valid and important as somebody who comes with lived experience. And that's quite sometimes something that's quite hard to achieve. And so you need to be sharing the challenges and talking about the power together as a group in order to address it and to break it down. And what we've learned is that it's really important that there's no hidden agenda, and that actually you're really open and honest about what it is a funder, for example, is putting pressure on you for. And if there are certain parameters to the work you're doing, that you're clear about those as well. And then you can have an open and honest discussion as a group together. You know, if organizationally sometimes there is a pressure to always put the positive spin on anything and to gloss over details, but this is something that is really obvious to people from the outside looking in, that if you're hiding things, so it's really important to be open and transparent throughout. Another of our key values is challenging. And by this, we mean challenging the status quo. But in doing this, it's really important to continually reflect and learn as you go, and so improve what you're doing. But that requires checking in all the time, with each other and challenging each other, and being able to embrace new ideas and new ways of doing things. And what we've learned is that it takes a long time to do this and to make inroads. But if you just keep going and keep reinforcing and reiterating the things that you are trying to do, actually, you do eventually get to a point where the powers that be or the people that you're trying to work with do start to understand and to embrace a different way of doing things. So I will take these off screen, and Jean, I will hand over to you.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I became involved as an advocate at PPI in co-production. I found out about an organization. Actually, it was a competition to work in a charity and to get paid. And I got involved with Action on Hearing Loss, and they let me work with them for 3 months. And during that time, I started writing for their magazine. So I started writing book reviews about hearing loss, books about hearing loss, thrillers even about hearing loss. From that, I got to know some people, and I got involved on a steering group for the James Lind Alliance. Some of you may know about priority setting partnerships, where researchers try to find from the public what matters in research, so that it's not just top-down research, we're going to do this. And so they do involve people. This priority setting partnership was looking at improving the situation for people with mild to moderate hearing loss. And at the end, we came up with 10 research questions that are now being used in order to guide research. But by being in such an organization, I met all kinds of people, researchers, audiologists, people who are now turning to me today to be involved in various projects. One thing leads to the next. You start out with nothing. I then applied, somebody told me about a fellowship with Clark, which is now ARC. It's complicated to say, but I got a fellowship and funding and visits to all kinds of universities, opportunities to review research applications from the patient and public point of view. My topic was improving hearing capacity for people in care homes, which is a topic which is always fresh because it can never fully be resolved. I attended a hackathon run by Innovation Agency from Liverpool and NHS England, and I won this competition to move things forward. I didn't move things forward, but for me, a lot of what I do is simply to raise awareness. Without that, you're nowhere. From that hackathon, somehow or other, I got new connections and that brought me into the world of Nick here. And the Co-Production Collective had funding for a competition, which my group eventually won, and other groups too. And we worked for, was it 2 or 3 days, bringing in members of the public to try to find a project to move forward to do with hearing loss. We brought in Oh, I'm saying we, because actually I co-produced it with a professional. And so I was looking at things like, how will the attendees be able to hear? How will we communicate to them? It was in person. Who are the people who should attend? And in the end, we won. One of the attendees was a woman who realized she had lost her hearing when somebody said, "Isn't that a beautiful bird song?" And she couldn't hear it. And from that, she was driven to get herself hearing aids, which automatically gave her birdsong back. And an architect thought that was a wonderful idea of raising awareness of hearing loss. And we, with the money that we got for winning it, we've now got online birdsong that can screen your hearing. We've spoken at the World Health Organization World Hearing Day. When you come up with a wonderful idea, it may stop there, and I think I've said that twice. But even just raising awareness is something, and we've put out tentacles all over the place. As a result of that, I'm involved in research with organizations all around the country to do with hearing loss. And the latest one I'm waiting to hear right now is another James Lind Alliance, and I can't tell you about it because we don't know for sure. But because we did do some co-production with the first James Lind Alliance, and Nick will give you a link to it later. You can read on the NIHR website what we did do. We are now looking to co-produce from the very beginning this James Lind Alliance. It will be really different. We have to keep diaries. We have to make sure there's no hierarchy. As different staff become involved, they have to meet me and know that they're stuck. Well, I shouldn't demean myself, that they have to work with the patient, and things can't move forward without all the sides being involved. So it's going to be very exciting. And I can tell you what it might be about is coexisting hearing loss and dementia. And so as an adjunct of what we might do if we get the funding, we will also write about it from beginning to end as co-production, because I don't know how many co-production projects there actually are that begin with co-production. Okay, my next bit is to try to tie together what I've just said and I've done with the values that Nikki has articulated of co-production. So straight away, there's a potential of the co-producer organization bringing in people like me from a perspective of power. And so that has to be always reviewed from the outset of how do you bring in people without being top down. Let's involve Jean, let's involve other people. But as people like me learn more and more, we take on the values from our perspective, and we can help you see those values. So on the human side, I can, with my particular situation, I can help you know what I need to be able to hear in any given context. And I might point it out throughout a session. I might make it clear to you where you don't necessarily realize that you're using a language that I don't understand. And that creates an awareness in you of how to present things. With a few of us, there's going to be a lot of different perspectives on what we need to understand, because some of us will have been professionals in our career, some of us not. And I think co-producing with people like us can be delightful for you to see our perspectives. It can also be really good to watch how we grow, how we learn, and how co-producing gives value to our lives. I think I've really spoken about being inclusive and human here. Being transparent, I think we all have to recognize that there inevitably are power hierarchies. And recognizing that, questioning ourselves of how we're enforcing it. So I might be too deferential. Like, I'm sitting here looking at Nick, and she knows so much more than I do. And I could say, yes, she does, or I think she does. And I need to accept that I know things that she doesn't know, so that we work together with an equality, but we recognize where we operate from. And finally, when you use the term challenging, Nick, I think that as a patient involved in co-production, I'm always challenging, and I can be too challenging. The less power imbalance, the less kind of trying to interfere, saying there is a power imbalance. So I think it's really important to remember that potential for the power imbalance. And from that, you can create an equality. And from that equality, you can work together and you can come up with something that wasn't there before that will make everybody feel good.
Spot on, Jean. I'm with you all the way.
I think that's me in this section.
Thank you. So what we were planning now is a bit of a group discussion. So I'm going to put everybody into a breakout briefly for just less than 10 minutes, just to have a bit of a chat. And I will put on screen. So this is the discussion that we are hoping that you will have. And what we're suggesting you do is quick intros to each other in the room. And then we'd like you to talk about, as a group, to pick one value and to actually each how it resonates or doesn't with you. And then, you know, whatever ensues as a discussion in the room. And what we'll do when we come back together is just ask you to briefly feedback kind of one point from your room, so we can all hear the conversation. So just as a reminder, those values are human, inclusive, transparent, and challenging. So I will put you all into your rooms, and we'll bring you back in about 10 minutes or so.
And I'll be happy to share with any of you how I did and everything. And now we are designing an online program. So I'm doing some video clips, writing stories, and it's a new thing, and I would love to happy to share with all of you. And I really enjoyed doing the co-production. It's very nice if you have people. One thing, you know, I found for 40 years, even including NHS, you know, if you get involved with people, with carers, your patients, your job is done. Your job is done. I'm telling you, you know. And same for me. Same for me, you know. If a leader is very nice, very open, then my work is also done. It is two-way things. So I would love to share, you know, my life story and how I've done. And it's a paid work for the university. And I'm getting getting so busier, you know, as a carer, even in a lockdown. I can't just believe how people found me. And I will be happy to share all the information to you, and you can share it to everybody.
Sure. That would be great, Viren. Thank you. Please do.
Yeah.
So what we'll do now probably is I'm just going to share a little bit about some of the work that we're doing at Co-Production Collective, just to demonstrate some of these values in action, hopefully. And then we'll move on to doing something else. But so I just wanted to share a couple of pieces of work that we're doing. And one is with NHS England and NHS Improvement, which is about co-producing really a commissioning pathway for hearing checks for young people who are autistic or have learning disabilities or both in residential special schools. And so this, for anybody who's familiar with autism or learning disabilities, will be aware that actually these groups are often excluded from co-production, which, you know, is bizarre. Co-production is meant to be all inclusive, right? But sometimes it appears it's inclusive to a certain level, but if you get to prisoners or you get to refugees, or example, those kind of, and that's where our challenging value comes in as well. We really try to challenge those kind of things too. And so in terms of our inclusive value, when it comes to this NHS England work, this is going to be really, really important to make sure that we're setting up co-production sessions that we do with these young people, with the parents, carers, NHS England staff and researchers, that actually everybody can participate and take part in a way that works for them. And if we're talking about some of the young people who are autistic, we will need to be really mindful of things that challenge them. For example, bright lights or lots of sounds may be overstimulating and cause them concerns. Those kind of things we're going to really have to be mindful of in developing the sessions. And in thinking about working with the residential special schools, you know, there's all sorts of demands on their time. And this is not necessarily a high priority for them. So how can we be transparent about what we're trying to achieve and actually work in a way that works for them? So we're going to have to build relationships and trust with those schools. And we're going to have to work in a way that means that we're not interrupting their time in a way, you know, not imposing on them, but actually including them and building trust so that they want to be a part of that team and work with us. So, you know, it's a year-long piece of work. It's going to take a long time, but I guess what I'm trying to say is those values become even more important, that we can hold them true and really work in a way that is beneficial for these young people. And add on to the top of that is the challenge of working with NHS England and NHS Improvement, which, you know, is a massive organisation with its own priorities and agenda. So watch this space, I think, is the moral of that story. What we just wanted to do now was show you one more word cloud for you to complete. So hopefully, fingers crossed, the technology works for this one. Sorry about my fails last time. So I'm going to put it on the screen, and I will put the link in the chat for you as well. And you just need to go to that link and hopefully enter that code that's on screen. Okay, so has everybody got in? Yeah, okay, so I'm going to share a different screen with you now, and hopefully, there we go, we can see these answers coming through. So this is as people enter them, and as I said last time, the bigger the words, although they look all like they're the same size this time, but the bigger the words, the more people who have entered those as the key things that they think are important. And what I'm going to do is I will just look back as well at the one that we did previously and see where the differences are. Okay, so at the moment you can see the new one on screen. Hold that in your mind. I am going to show you what you thought at the beginning of the session, which hopefully you will see is actually quite different. So this is what you saw at the beginning of the session, or sorry, what you thought at the beginning. So collaboration, together, empowerment, we. So empowerment is actually coming through there still, but there's definitely some different words. So what we probably want to do now is just kind of wrap up, I suppose, in terms of what we've talked about today. But Jean, do you want to do that? Have you got any thoughts you wanted to share?
I've found this really challenging. We should never lose sight of how hard it is to communicate in this forum and to sum things up and to present things, to make our case, to hear other people, to follow what's on the screen. But it's also exciting because there's so much there in such a short space of time. And I didn't have to catch the underground or anything, you know?
Yeah, and yeah, I agree. And I apologize for my technical fails today. I clearly needed somebody else to help, I think, to not try and do too many things at once. That's my downfall today. But yeah, it's been, I suppose what we wanted to do was share some of our values, try to demonstrate those to you in ways that we try to bring them to life. Because we really feel that co-production is about a values-based way of working. It's not about sticking to a framework and a formula. It's about being rather than doing. So living and breathing rather than just doing something in a kind of mechanistic way. So that's really the kind of the main thing that we wanted to get across, I guess. And it was great to develop this with Jean. We had loads of fun in doing it, didn't we?
But you know what? I felt that there was a lot of energy in this group. I don't know how I managed to get that the commitment and the enthusiasm were here before anybody logged on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I
go on?
Yeah, I just wanted to say the same to Jean, that I've attended so many webinars and learning, and I think this is one of the best. You're giving so beautiful information about a co-production, what co-production is, and it's really very impressed. I would love to work with all of you and assist you in getting this co-production done. But please, you know, don't be afraid or don't be nervous. There are lovely people you can have in your co-production. I've got so busy, you know, one co-production to another one to another one. And I'm glad. I don't know why this co-production has started. Is it because government had said, or they want to include all the carers or everybody? But it is brilliant. Thank you so much for your webinar.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody else for being here. And if we've got a couple of minutes, so if you've got any questions, please let us know. Otherwise, there's some links and things on the screen that, you know, feel free to contact either of us. Thank you.